difficult, students have difficulty in comprehending the core concepts. One of the topic rated difficult is immune systems. Therefore, there needs to be an effort made to enhance the biology literacy in respective rated topics. Biology literacy can be enhanced by using appropriate learning media. In this context, appropriate learning media means a media that is capable of increasing reading interest and learning motivations. If we are taking accessibility and variety into considerations, one of the most promising learning media is digital comic. Digital comic has high accessibility, high assessment, high in popularity, and is categorized as a very interesting learning media by students. Therefore, this research is aimed to develop digital comic based on biology literacy as a feasible learning media on the topic of immune systems. The method used in this research shows as the followings. This research or this study is conducted in February to May 22 in SMA Negeri 4 Bekasi, and then the product is tested twice by validators, which is lecturers and school teachers, and by respondents, which is 11th grade students in SMA Negeri 4 Bekasi. The model used in this research refers to the 10 steps Borg and Gar model. The model is then modified and adjusted according to the research purpose. So steps 8 to 10 is not included because it is already in the domain of effectivity test. Meanwhile, uh, the study only aims to test the feasibility. So the modified model only has 7 steps. And then the data obtained from this study is obtained from questionnaire. The questionnaire is distributed from WhatsApp group chat in the form of Google form. The data obtained is then calculated for feasibility tests. The feasibility is measured according to Table 2, which is the criteria from Ratumanans and Lawrence. And then the converted score is calculated according to the following formula. The score obtained from the formula calculation is then interpreted according to Table 3. In order to the media to be interpreted or categorized as passable, it needs to exceed 61%. These are the results from the study, the first one being preliminary test results in media aspects. So in this aspect, we test the product in 5 indicators, including text, illustration, story, appearance, and cover design. The total score for each indicator is listed in the screen. Each indicator is categorized as very valid, and the overall score obtained in this aspect is 93.88%, and it is interpreted as very valid. Therefore, the digital comic is very valid in media aspects. This is the results for the material test. Um, in this test, there are 2 indicators, which is text and illustrations, and the total score for both of the indicators is listed on the screen. And then each indicator is categorized as a very valid. The overall score obtained is 90% and it is interpreted as very valid as well. So the digital comic is very valid in material aspect. The third preliminary test is a language test. The product is tested in 3 indicators, which includes grammar, lessons, and presentations. The total score for each indicator is listed on the screen. Each indicator is categorized as very valid and the overall score obtained is 93%. It is interpreted as very valid in language aspect. After the preliminary test results, we move on to the main field testing results. In this test, it is conducted in a small group scale of 20 students, and it is tested on 5 indicators for content, presentation, language, visual, and convenience. Each indicator has obtained score as the followings. and it is categorized as very valid for each of the indicators. The overall score is 90% and it is also interpreted as very valid. Therefore, the product is categorized as a very flexible learning media. We now move on to the discussion. Before we develop the comic or the digital comics, we need to understand the necessity of these comics among high school students. So in the first step, we do research according to recent findings on journal and scientific articles. And from the research, we found out that digital comic is a very effective learning media for high school students. Why? Because it provides information in a form that is easy to understand for students. How so? Comic has visual advantages. It has characters, it has story, it has plots, and it balances between the using of narrative and visual elements. Therefore, it increases the students' reading interest and learning motivations. However, regardless of the advantages, comics also have some disadvantages. And the most often found is the uninteresting story used in the comic itself. And then the color palette is monochrome. And some comics also still use long narrative usage. However, regardless of its disadvantages, comic also has promising opportunity. It is uh, right now rising in popularity among people aged 13 to 25, and it is also has the opportunity or it can be integrated into systems such as online course or LMS or Moodle. In order to tackle these advantages mentioned before, the digital comic is developed into colorful comic in portable document format with QR codes. So the students can scan the QR codes and it will direct them into videos or additional resources for them to delve a little further into the topic. Furthermore, the comic is divided into four chapters to aid students in differentiating each core concepts. So the students will not um, find difficulty in differentiating the core concepts in the topic of immune systems. This is the planning and the development stage of the study. So the product specification that is selected is portable document format or PDF. This format is selected because it is very flexible, it is very easy to access, and it also has small size, so it should not be a problem for students with lower specifications phones. And then after we decided what specification format the comic will be developed into, we developed the preliminary form of the product by choosing the material coverage, which is the material coverage from the standard from the um, Ministry of Education content, and then we make the material coverage into story scenario by using Microsoft Word 2019, and then the story scenario the scenario is then converted or illustrated into comics. The prototype products or the first form of the product is tested in both preliminary field testing and main field testing. And from both tests, we had revisions that is used to revise the product and polish so we can have the final product uh, in the form of operational products. After the calculations, which shows that the product is a very feasible learning media, we also take the product and compare it to recent findings in study journals and scientific uh, articles that is relevant to this topic. And we found out that This product functions the best or optimally functions as supplementary learning media in school learning process. It is not suitable to be used as main learning media because there are some things that has to be taken into considerations. The first one being difference in students' reading speed and comprehension. So each students have different reading speed and different reading comprehensions. So to use the comic as a main learning media in class is not effective since it may hinder some of the students that has higher reading speed, and it may also hinders the students that have low reading speed and low reading comprehensions. And the second thing that is taken into consideration is the time allocation for biology lessons, which only in average only takes about 2 to 3 hours per week, and it is not nearly enough for students to uh, read and discuss the topic deeply, and for the teacher to manage a a long and interpretative discussions in the class. Therefore, to use this product, the digital comic, the product needs teacher's instructions to be used in biology lessons. So the students need to be given instructions first as to how and which part of the comic to be read, and then they read the comics, and then the discussion follows after they've read the materials. The conclusion of this study is that digital comic based on biology literacy is a feasible learning media on the topic of immune systems. That is all I have to say. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for Miss Halimah, yeah, ABS 86. So Miss Halimah already here with us, and we are entering the Q&A session in here. So is there any question maybe from the participants? If you have question, you can raise your hand. You can give reaction and raise your hand. Okay, so I will give some comments about Miss Halimah research. So the first one is about this comic-based media that you have developed. So is it available in application form, or do we need to open certain website to access this media?
All right, thank you for the questions. So for the comic itself, it is currently uploaded on Google Drive with public access. So anyone with the link can open the comic and read it. I do not publish it on specific websites as it will defeat the purpose of it being accessible itself. So it is currently only available on Google Drive.
Thank you for your answer. The next question from me is about this media that you have used in small scale tests. Yeah, you said that you did small scale tests in SMA 4 of Bekasi, is it? Okay, how many people have tried your media?
20 people.
20 people. Okay, how was it like? How was the result?
The result was very positive. According to the feedback from the students, they have said that it helped them understanding the core concepts a little better because the teacher doesn't give them enough time to comprehend the concept itself, as they have to move on to the exam, right? Since the topic is on the end of the semester. So they said that it helps with self-study, and they hope that other topics it will be developed into comic as well.
Okay, so it helped positively for the student. Yeah. So how about your hope for this media? What do you hope for your research to be developed in further or advanced application maybe, or do you have another hope for this research?
I do wish that the research will be continued, as right now it only calculates the feasibility of the media itself. It doesn't calculate the effectiveness of the media. So I hope that other researchers will pick up the product and test it further. As for the students itself, I hope that the comic can be distributed in a bigger platform or bigger media so that more people can get access to it.
Okay, a very good wish from the researcher. Thank you for Miss Halimah. Yeah. So I will return to you first before moving to the next presenter. Please, Miss Halimah.
All right. Thank you for everyone who has listened to my lengthy presentation. I hope we all have a good day and stay healthy. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you, Miss Halimah. So we will move to the next presenter. We have ABS 87 here because ABS 185 is not here yet. So we will skip him or her and we will move to ABS 87. So Denada Kinanti already here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Okay, so for ABS 87, Denada Kinanti, your paper is about sign vocabulary to support biology education for deaf and hard of hearing student. So we already have your presentation in here. Please wait a minute. So we will share your video presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so oh, okay. So,
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I would like to present my research with the title of Sign Language Vocabulary to Support Biology Education for Deaf and Hard of Hearing Students. Introduction. Indonesia prioritizes achieving sustainable development goals, but the COVID-19 pandemic hinders this achievement, one of which is quality education. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM, prepare students to face this 21st century's challenge. But because of difficulties in communicating, deaf and hard of hearing students struggles to access STEM. One of the auxiliary means of learning for deaf and hard of hearing students is sign language. But sign language vocabulary has not covered all of the vocabularies used in education yet, including biology. That's why sign language vocabulary to support biology education for deaf and hard of hearing students was developed. Method. The purpose of this research is to develop and test the worthiness of sign language vocabulary to support biology education for deaf and hard of hearing students. This research took place at SLB Negeri 1 Jakarta from March to July 2022. The developed model. This research and development used ADI model, which has 5 steps, which were analyze, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. The research targets are deaf and hard of hearing students and science teacher of SLB Negeri 1 Jakarta. These are the developed sign language shown through pictures and gesture description. The descriptions is in Indonesian because it is also part of SIBI or Sistem Isyarat Bahasa Indonesia. The first sign language is eutrophication. The second is global warming. The third is chemoautotroph. The fourth is conservation. And the last one is pollution. And there is also the video of the sign language. This is the sign language of chemoautotroph. The next one is the sign language of conservation. The third one is the sign language of eutrophication. The fourth one is the sign language of global warming. And the last one is the sign language of pollution. All of the videos were uploaded to YouTube, and this is the display of the uploaded video. These are the results of the preliminary field testing. From material validation test is 77.5% with the category of suitable, and from media validation test is 78% categorized as suitable. And these are the results of main field testing. From student trial is 87% categorized as very suitable, and from science teacher trial is 86% categorized as very suitable. The highest rating is in the display aspect with the percentage of 92% categorized as very suitable. This happens because the video display looks interesting, the model and text layout is consistent, and the video can be operated smoothly. This statement is supported by previous research, which states that video learning media could improve students' learning interest because it left a good learning impression on students. The statement sign language raised students' enjoyment when demonstrated and pushed students to study the learning material completely got the highest score average from students. And also, contents aspect got the highest percentage in science teachers' trial. This means the sign language corresponds to the learning material and could also help biology learning process. This is also supported by previous research which states that SIBI or Sistem Isyarat Bahasa Indonesia is very useful for deaf and hard of hearing students to help communicate in learning process. The lowest scored statement from student is sign language is easy to understand with average of 8 categorized as good. This happened because That was the first time the students learned about the terminologies and the sign language. So they still struggled to remember and demonstrate it, especially with eutrophication and chemoautotroph. This statement was also supported by previous research which states that SLB Dharma Wanita Bogor students still struggles in understanding biology concepts and is still left behind in getting good learning results, which was also supported by Lestari, who stated, in the learning process, there are obstacles and difficulties for deaf and hard of hearing students in understanding words and writing them down. And Suciati, who states, the scientific literacy ability of students in Indonesia is still relatively low. Even so, students' responses to the sign language vocabulary were positive by imitating the sign language that were demonstrated. Conclusion: sign language to support biology education for deaf and hard of hearing students was successfully developed and is suitable to use in supporting pollution topic learning because it received a very good result from validators, science teachers, and students. Thank you for your attention. Good day, everyone.
Okay, thank you for your video, Miss Denada Kinanti. So we will entering the Q&A session here. So Miss Denada already here with us. And I would like to let the participant first to give question to Miss Denada presentation. So if you have question, you can give reaction and raise your hand. Any question from participants? Okay, so I will give my comments about your presentation, Miss Denada. So I would like to ask about the sign language that you have. Did you created the sign language?
I didn't personally create this sign language. I collaborated with lembaga pengembangan dan penelitian.
Okay, so before this, is there any specific sign language to, I mean, in like in other country, is that this sign language of these words like pollution, global warming, and eutrophication and other things, is that same with other countries, or did you make modification about this sign language?
I have personally did my research before, and as far as I know, there are still nothing in sign language about these 5 vocabularies.
Okay, so in countries like Japan or maybe Korea or Europe, no sign language about these words.
Once again, as far as I know, the only research about developing sign language in certain studies like biology and chemical education was only done in the US and British, and it is still not available for these 5 vocabularies.
Okay, so in Indonesia also it wasn't created before for these 5 vocabulary.
Yeah, there are still not these 5 vocabularies in Indonesian Sign Language. There are 78 special sign language for science education, but For these five, there's still none.
Okay. Thank you for your answer, Miss Denada. So I will check the participant first. Any question maybe from participant? Okay. No question, I think, from participants. So I will return to Miss Denada first to close your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much for all the participants and Miss Pina for the moderator. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Miss Denada. So we will move to the next presenter. And here, the next one actually should be ABS 9095, Miss Elsa Anggia, but she is not here. So we will skip her part and move it to the last. And the next one will be ABS 141. Okay, for Mrs. Yulilina Retno Dewahrani will be changed to Miss Denada. Is it correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Miss Denada will be the will responsible for the Q&A session for Miss Yulilina Retno. Okay, so we have the video for ABS 141 for Mrs. Yulilina Retno, and the title is about sign language enrichment with biology content, an effort to facilitate conceptual understanding for deaf students. So we will play your video, please.
66 kan?
141 dulu.
Dia 66 dulu.
141 aja. Oke.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Yulilina, and my team will present our research entitled Sign Language Enrichment with Biological Content, an effort to facilitate concept understanding for students with hearing disabilities. The main focus of word development today related to the 2030 Agenda, Sustainable Development Goals, is equity and equality, especially for vulnerable and marginalized groups. This group is most at risk of being affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in terms of access to education due to the implementation of health protocols. The most vulnerable groups affected by COVID-19 are people with disabilities. As a result of the provisions of online learning, people with disabilities who have difficulty communicating are persons with hearing disabilities, or PDP. In communicating, PDPs have special needs, one of which is supporting facilities and infrastructure that allow them to communicate manually using the CB. CB is Indonesian Language Sign System Dictionary and some specific vocabularies for certain subjects. However, PDP students still have difficulty communicating when the focus of their learning is a subject that cannot be seen. The available special science vocabulary does not cover of the vocabulary used is biology subject. Based on the result of observation and interviews, it is known that the vocabulary of biology science in the CB and BCINDO dictionaries is still minimal, which is around 78 science vocabularies. This amount has not accommodated all the material in biology subject. Communication limitation can indeed be overcome by delivering information non-communicatively or communicatively or symbol. However, these two methods still complicate the interaction between teachers or instructors and students. This will result in the emergence of wrong concepts in biology material. Translating complex scientific terms with finger movement make communication even more difficult. How to translate the term DEOXYRIBONUCLEOTIDE for PDP? Does it have to be translated every single letter in sign language? This fact complicates communication between teacher and students. In the industrial era 40.1, 40.0 in every segment of life, including the fields education, we must be ready with learning innovations with a STEM's approach. However, teacher and instructor are often unprepared to recognize and address the needs of PDP students. Lack of access to communication causes PDP students to find it difficult to engage in learning with the STEM model. So, PDP students often feel dissatisfied with science lessons. In addition, listening teachers also have little experience and communicating when teaching science to PDP students. This reason underlies the enrichment of biology terminology, science vocabulary for science or biology subjects as an effort to facilitate conceptual understanding for PDP students. The purpose of this research is to enrich it by developing a number of science vocabularies for science or biology materials to support the biology learning process for PDP students in junior high school and senior high school. Enrichment of biology science vocabulary is carried out following stages. First, analysis of the need for biology terminology, science vocabulary that needs to be developed to assess communication and or interaction between teacher and student in the biology learning process. Second, development of biology terminology science vocabulary for junior and senior high school students, both of PDP and inclusion students. Third, validation by media and language experts, teachers, and special school students, as well as trial in the learning process. The science vocabulary enrichment process collaborates with experts in the field of special education, teachers and students of SMP Luar Biasa, SMPLB, or SMALB in Jakarta, and the Institute of Research and Development of Science Vocabulary for the Indonesian Science System. The validated science vocabulary is then submitted to the institution for further study, whether it can be added to CB or BSINDO. The science vocabulary product was developed using the AD model consistent of 5 stages. They are analyze, design, development, implementation, and evaluation in the form of demonstration videos and pictures. Making videos and images by a science vocabulary creator is done based on a storyboard. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Yulilina Retno Dewahrani for the presentation. So we will have Q&A session that will be changed to Miss Denada Kinanti. So Miss Denada Kinanti already here with us.
Yeah.
So from participant first, maybe, is there any question? Okay, so about this sign language enrichment. So I'm not in biology education background, so I'm not really familiar with this sign language enrichment for learning in biology material. So about the sign language, is there is the purpose of the study the learning outcome? Yeah, the learning outcome for the PDP students for biology subject, was it different with regular student? Do you know about these things, Miss Denada?
From my research before, the curriculum and in Indonesia KI, KD, that was used in special school student is different from regular student. They use specialized curriculum for deaf and hard of hearing students. That was produced by the education ministry.
Okay, so it was decided by the Ministry of Education.
Yes.
Okay, so was the level of learning outcome is lowered? I mean, they decrease the learning outcome, or they decrease the material?
They decrease all the learning outcome and the material, because in special school, high school is the same level as elementary students.
Okay, so for like, was it compared to high school student?
Yeah, but it is the same level as elementary students, but the material is a little bit complicated from elementary.
Okay, so for the regular high school level, the level for PDP student is similar to elementary student, but a little bit complicated. Was it like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Miss Denada, for your answer. I think I will return to firstly, I would like to ask the participant first. Any question maybe? Okay, Mrs. Julilina is here with us. So we have finished your session. Maybe Miss Julilina would like to give some comments about your research, Miss Julilina. Okay, maybe she is in another event. So I would like to return to Miss Denada first before moving to the next presenter. For Miss Denada, please close your presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much for all the participants and for the moderator for this for the attention of the presentation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Miss Denada. So the next presenter here, we have ABS 66, yeah. Okay, so it's actually should be ABS 181, but he is not yet here. So we will move to the earlier one, which has technical problem before, and it is ABS 66. Yeah, ABS 66. We have Miss Anna, Miss Felia, and Miss Dinda here. And we have received the video. Is it okay? So we have your video, and we will play your video. So ABS 66, which was written by Diana Vivanti Sigit. The title is Tourist Attitudes Towards Conservation Efforts on Sepanjang Beach, Yogyakarta. Okay, so we will play your video.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm honored to be presenter participant of Science and Mathematical International Conference 2022. I'm Indah Pramenisi from Postgraduate of Biology Education State University of Jakarta, Indonesia. The paper title is Tourist Attitudes Towards Conservation Efforts on the Sepanjang Beach, Yogyakarta. And this is what our research has been looking at. The charm of the sea and the biological resources by Indonesia make the country of Indonesia an attraction for foreign and domestic tourists. The tourism sector cannot be separated from environmental issues, both biophysical, chemical, socioeconomic, and cultural. So it is necessary to pay attention to the principle of environmental conservation. Success in efforts to maintain and conduct conservation in coastal ecosystem areas cannot be separated from the contribution of the community. The surrounding community must also be involved in the conservation of the surrounding environment. Thus, between humans and nature have a close relationship. Humans cannot live without plants and animals. Community involvement in conservation efforts is expected to increase attitude that reflect responsibility so that environmental care is maintained. Maintaining the beach environment is also the responsibility of tourists who came to visit. Based on the explanation above, the selected research topic is tourist attitudes towards conservation efforts on the Sepanjang Beach, Yogyakarta. Based on the introduction, the study aims to describe the attitudes of tourists in conservation efforts at Sepanjang Beach, Yogyakarta, identifying the attitudes of tourists in conservation efforts at Sepanjang Beach, Yogyakarta, knowing the participation of tourists in conservation efforts at Sepanjang Beach, Yogyakarta. And our method is location at Sepanjang Beach area, Gunung Kidul, Yogyakarta on July 13 until 14, 2022. This research was conducted using a survey method, and the data collection technique and study was through instruments regarding the measurement of tourist attitudes towards coastal conservation efforts, which were distributed to tourists visiting the Sepanjang Beach. The sample used in this study amounted to 53 tourists who were on the coast of Sepanjang Beach, Yogyakarta with accidental sampling technique. And before the instruments was distributed to respondents, the instruments was validated first by an expert validator, namely a lecturer in the postgraduate of biology education, State University of Chicago, who has an expert in the field of conservation. After getting data from respondents, data analysis is carried out in the form of percentages. The percentages are then grouped under the same criteria as expert validation test. The percentage is obtained through the following formula. And this is table 1 about percentage of tourist attitudes towards conservation effort. And this is the interval and the criteria. The percentage obtained is to analyze descriptively to analyze the attitudes of tourists in conservation efforts. The dimensions and indicator use the measure tourist attitudes according to ASWAR 2015 are as follows. There are 3 attitudes dimensions are cognition, affection, and cognition. And according to law number 5 of 1990, conservation is divided into 3 aspects which are described in table 3 below. There are 3 aspects. Protection of life support system, preservation of the diversity of plant and animal species and their ecosystem, and utilization of living natural resources and their ecosystem. To measure the attitudes of tourists regarding conservation efforts, it can be seen through the following instrument. Attitude dimension is cognition, and there are 2 attitudes indicator. Tourist knowledge about coastal conservation efforts and knowing the latest information about coastal condition. And each aspect consists of several items that have been adjusted for dimension and indicators. And we're going to result in discussion, analysis of tourist attitudes towards coastal conservation efforts and cognitive dimension. On the aspect of utilization, get a score 79.72%. It means some tourists understand that marine life can be put to good use. It is evident that most of the trades in Panjang Beach produce food from the use of marine biota such as fried seaweed. 20% of tourists do not understand the imposition of a sanction if the use of marine biota. On the aspect of preservation, get a score 83.96%. It means tourists learn about the benefit of preserving the coastal environment. Another 16% of tourists choose the opposite statement, which is that they do not understand the rules that must be applied when visiting the beach, and lack of appeal such as what regulation must be applied by tourists in visiting. And on the aspect of protection, get a score 90.57. It means in terms of protection, it shows that some tourists already know about coastal conservation, and some tourists claim to routinely seek the latest information on coastal conservation issues. Next one is analysis of tourist attitudes towards coastal conservation efforts and effective dimension. On the aspect of protection, get a score 86.79%. It means tourists already expressed their feelings related to the conservation of the coastal environment, and most tourists think that coastal conservation efforts can increase the comfort for visitors and can improve beach condition. On the aspect of preservation, get a score 89.62%. It means tourists are obedient and obeying the existing regulation during a visit to the beach. They also support organizations engaged in conservation efforts. Useful action can also be done by inviting others to participate in preserving the environment. The organization that is located at the Panjang Beach, namely Pok Darwis, has a role in preserving the beach. On the aspect of utilization, get a score 94 86.81%. It means most of the tourists feel that Sepanjang Beach has been used well from the utilization of marine life and the facilities that are already available. Marine biota for food, there are microalgae have been used, namely Gelidium, Sargassum, and Gracilaria and Ulva. Next one is analysis of tourist attitudes towards coastal conservation efforts in cognitive dimension. One aspect of protection get a score 82.7%. It means tourists have become accustomed to disposing of garbage properly and aware of the condition of the beach environment that needs to be maintained. The manager of Darwis has provided many trash cans around the beach, making it easier for tourists to dispose of garbage properly. And the aspect of preservation get a score 76.89%. Most tourists say that they visit the beach to enjoy the atmosphere and video on the beach and have no interest in exploiting marine life or even disturbing the habitat of marine life. The beach manager states that tourists are allowed to bring marine biota that is on the coast in limited quantities. On the aspect of utilization, get a score 86.79%. It means most tourists say that they are orderly and wise in using the facilities around the beach, and tourists understand the conservation efforts that need to be done in protecting coastal areas. This is the total score of the 3 dimensions of attitudes of the 3 dimensions of attitude beach tourists that have been measured. It is known that the affective dimension has the highest percentage compared to other dimension. And the conclusion is based on the result of the study. It can be concluded that the 3 dimensions of tourist attitudes at Sepanjang Beach are in the very good category. This shows that most tourists have understood and contribute to conservation efforts in the Sepanjang Beach area. In addition, tourists are also orderly in complying with beach regulation and not doing things that can disrupt the balance of the coastal ecosystem. With the contribution of tourists and the surrounding community, the creation of a comfortable and well-maintained Sepanjang Beach environment. That's all the presentation. Thank you very much for the attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for Miss Indah, Miss Indah, Velia, and also Miss Anna. So I will let the participant first, maybe. Is there any question from participants? Okay, while waiting for the participants, maybe I would like to give some comments about your research. Are you still with us? For Indah, Miss Velia, and Miss Anna? Are you still here?
Yes, Miss.
Yes, Miss.
Okay, so I would like to give my comments about your research. So in your research, did you do what kind of method that you do? Is it did you give questionnaire or did you give interview? What kind of method did you use for this research? You can answer for this question directly, please.
I'm so sorry, Miss. Can I answer the question in Bahasa?
Okay, you can answer in Bahasa, Miss Anna.
Oke, thank you. Terima kasih sebelumnya kepada Ibu Vina selaku moderator yang telah memberikan komentar terhadap penelitian kami. Jadi untuk metode yang kami gunakan untuk mengambil data yang kami butuhkan itu kami menggunakan kuesioner berisi pernyataan-pernyataan yang nantinya dipilih oleh para pengunjung menggunakan skor 1 hingga 5. Skor yang pertama itu sangat tidak setuju, 2 tidak setuju, kemudian yang ketiga cukup setuju, 4 sangat setuju, dan yang kelima ya sangat setuju. Seperti itu. Jadi berdasarkan skor tersebut nantinya pengunjung memilih yang sesuai dengan apa yang mereka rasakan saat mereka berkunjung ke Pantai Sepanjang. Seperti itu. Terima kasih sebelumnya.
Okay, so you use questionnaire survey, is it? So you didn't interview the tourists?
Dalam prosesnya kami melakukan pengambilan data melalui kuesioner dan juga kami melakukan sedikit interaksi berupa wawancara dengan memberikan pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang dapat menunjang jawaban dari para pengunjung. Kemudian kami juga menginterview para pengurus yang berkaitan dengan Pantai Sepanjang seperti tim pengelola, ketua pengelola sebagai data pendukung untuk penelitian kami. Seperti itu, Ibu.
Okay, could you give example about what did you question to the people you interview? Maybe for the people who do the conservation, ya, penjaga tadi. Pertanyaan apa saja yang diberikan?
Oke, baik. Untuk pengunjung, kami memberikan pertanyaan berupa apakah pengunjung memahami apa yang dimaksud dengan upaya konservasi, kemudian saat mereka berkunjung, mereka melakukan hal apa yang bisa mendukung upaya konservasi, kemudian terkait dengan fasilitas-fasilitas yang disediakan oleh Pantai Sepanjang itu, apakah sudah mendukung upaya konservasi yang bisa dilakukan oleh pengunjung saat berwisata ke Pantai Sepanjang. Kemudian hal itu kami konfirmasi kepada pihak pengelola, di mana kami juga menanyakan kepada pihak pengelola upaya apa saja yang sudah dilakukan agar kawasan Pantai Sepanjang tetap terjaga, kemudian apakah fasilitas-fasilitas yang dirasakan oleh para pengunjung sudah sesuai dengan apa yang telah disediakan oleh tim pengelola. Jadi kami mengkonfirmasi apakah jawaban dan apakah yang dirasakan oleh pengunjung sudah sesuai dengan apa yang telah disediakan oleh tim pengelola gitu. Seperti kami juga menanyakan apakah tim pengelola menyediakan tempat sampah, apakah tim pengelola juga menyediakan peraturan-peraturan yang dipajang gitu ya, atau yang tersedia di dalam pantai, kemudian itu nanti bisa dibaca oleh pengunjung dengan membacanya dengan seksama sehingga kawasan lingkungan tetap terjaga. Dan itu kami konfirmasi juga kedua jawaban dari pihak pengelola dan pihak pengunjung, dan ternyata keduanya terdapat sinkronisasi di mana tim pengelola menyediakan tempat sampah, menyediakan peraturan yang tersedia sehingga pengunjung bisa membacanya, dan akhirnya kami konfirmasi ke pengunjung dan pengunjung menikmati dan ikut menggunakan fasilitas yang disediakan seperti tempat sampah sehingga pengunjung tidak kesulitan untuk membuang sampah. Kemudian pengunjung juga dapat mentaati peraturan dengan adanya peraturan-peraturan tertulis yang disediakan seperti itu. Jadi kedua data tersebut dapat menunjang penelitian kami. Seperti itu, Ibu Vina.
Okay, the last question from me. So you did finish, you did visit the Sepanjang Beach, is it, in Yogyakarta, and you see the facilitation in there. So in your opinion, is the facilitation already enough to support the conservation efforts? What do you think about this?
Baik, mohon izin menjawab. Terkait dengan fasilitas yang telah disediakan oleh tim pengelola sudah cukup baik, dan pengunjung juga tidak kesulitan untuk bisa memanfaatkan fasilitas-fasilitas yang disediakan. Namun ada harapan yang diharapkan oleh tim pengelola seperti semakin rajinnya, mohon maaf, semakin rutinnya tim pengelola sampah yang berkunjung ke pantai. Jadi ada tim pengelola sampah yang berkunjung ke pantai itu durasinya sekitar 3 hari sekali, dan itu bisa dilakukan selama seminggu, bisa 2 atau 3 kali. Yang diharapkan oleh tim pengelola adalah intensitas pengelolaan sampah, di mana tim pengelola sampah bisa berkunjung lebih sering ke pantai sehingga sampah tidak menumpuk terlalu banyak. Seperti itu salah satunya. Kemudian yang kedua, penyediaan tempat sampah yang semakin banyak sehingga pengunjung tidak terlalu jauh untuk mencari tempat sampah dan memudahkan pengunjung untuk bisa memanfaatkan fasilitas dengan maksimal. Sepertinya yang diharapkan oleh tim pengelola cukup itu saja, dan yang diharapkan oleh tim pengunjung, beberapa pengunjung wisatawan juga sudah cukup baik karena di sana banyak juga menyediakan kamar mandi yang bersih, kemudian pedagang-pedagang yang ramah, kemudian juga warga-warga sekitar yang cukup merespon dengan baik kehadiran para wisatawan, sehingga itu membuat para wisatawan cukup nyaman berkunjung dan tertarik untuk kembali ke Pantai Sepanjang. Seperti itu, Ibu Vina. Terima kasih sebelumnya.
Okay, thank you for your answer, Miss Anna. So we are already finished for your session. So before moving to the next presenter, I would like to return to the session to Miss Anna to close your presentation first, please.
Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for all participants. We finish the presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Miss Anna. So we are moving to the next presenter. In here we have already have Miss Elsa Anggia Nurinsani, ABS 95. Are you already here with us, Miss Elsa?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, so you already here with us, and we have received your video. Yeah, so we will play your video, and after that, please be present because we have Q&A session after this video is played. Okay, we will play the video, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. All the Committee Science Mathematics International Conference UNJ 2022. I am Elsa Anggia Nurinsani. I am from Nurul Fikri Boarding School, Bogor. I want to present about integrative feasible thinking routines through STEM and empathy projects. And here is the research background. The application of STEAM approach is one of the breakthroughs for education in Indonesia that seeks to develop people who can create science and technology-based economy. Science learning at the elementary school level is expected to be a media for students to study the natural surroundings and prospects for further development in daily life. STEM curriculum integrated into the curriculum as a supporter for collaborative learning project-based learning methods. It predicts that students need to solve complex problems that require them to find new solutions. Therefore, creative and critical thinking are crucial. And how about feasible thinking routines? Feasible thinking routines are used to encourage students for discussing. For instance, think, pair, strategy reinforce students' communication skills. It has many positive effects on the whole group, where students feel more self-confidence and more active in class. And this is the research purpose. The research purpose is to portray students' higher order thinking skill, deep engagement, transformative teaching, collaborative decision making, empathic communication, critical awareness of environmental sustainability, and critical social thinking. And how about the research methodology? The research methodology of the participant. Who is the participant? The participants are from 7, 8, and 9 graders, consisting 300 students at a private elementary school, Nurul Fikri Boarding School Bogor in West Java, Indonesia. And we use the research method is qualitative approach with an interview, reflective journal, observations, syphilis Rubik skills, and project assessment as data collection. And the project span for 2 years from 2020 to 2022 by integrating 16 subjects. There are 8 empathy topics and 2 STEM projects in 2020 to 2021, and 17 integrated subjects. There are 9 empathy topics and 2 STEM projects. And the activities carried out through 3 phases of cooperating, planning, and developing and applying. For the first phase is cooperating, working collaborative with all teachers in empathy and STEAM project development. And for the second phase is planning and developing, planning the project and developing the topics, which integrating the concepts with empathy and STEAM. And for the third phase is applying, empathy and STEAM project conduct in the classroom with the teachers as the facilitator. And this is the continue about the research methodology. The challenges were in relating the STEAM and empathy project with the concept of subject. Incorporating steps from 9 topics. We also use ethical dilemma story, visible thinking routines, and integrated subjects, 1 up to 4 subjects per topics. And this is the result and discussion. The results are presented 2 parts. For the first part is syphilis measures of students' perception. And for the second is 4 implication. For the first dimension, I want to say about the deep engagement. Based on syphilis questionnaire and reflective journals, students agree that they will engage in empathy and STEAM projects. The student A from the interview say that I enjoy the learning process and projects. Empathy approach can widen our perspective because there are negative and positive effects for every cases. So, in the dilemma stories, like the effect of using gadget in online learning and waste mix pollution are close to students' life. It provides social context that facilitated students to learn the concept. And for the second dimension is transformative teaching. According to Chang and Visa 23, when teachers as the facilitators, students take more control and responsibility for their learning. The students be say that teachers help us to construct the idea. give some reference so it's easier to do the project, and explain for something we do not understand. It is from the reflective journal. Teachers can see that students do collaboration and sharing the ideas, and above all, it makes thinking and learning more visible. And for the third dimension is collaborative decision making. The benefits of collaborative learning are learning to build diversity, understanding among students, and establishing a positive atmosphere for modeling and practicing cooperation. The students say that if in making a decision, we have to combine our opinions into one argument. So, working together in small groups are needed for 20th century skills. And then for the fourth dimension is empathic communication. Empathic communication involves skills to accept and allow different perspectives in other people. From reflective journal, from student E, said that one time I faced a very long discussion because one member in our team still insists that her opinion is right. After long discussion, it can eventually be resolved. So in the classroom, which applying of STEM and empathy students communicate with friends to share their ideas and can control their emotion. For the fifth dimension is critical awareness of environmental sustainability. Problem-solving approach for protection of environment is a skill that students should improve, and teaching and learning process should be multidisciplinary in approach. The student H and I from reflective journal say that I will be more aware to my environment. Now I know what to do if I find passion if I find after studying empathy. So I think in the critical awareness of environmental sustainability, some students feel aware about environmental problem and the effect of our existence. And for the last, critical social thinking, that students engage to think critically about the situations around them. From the result interview, students say that sometimes the problem in empathy is complicated to solve. We need to find positive and negative effects and impacts from every solution we make. In critical social thinking, students identify necessary information for understanding complex social situations and determining response to solve it. And this is the conclusion. For the first conclusion is our study found that students engage successfully in deep engagement, teacher support or transformative teaching, collaborative decision-making, empathic communication, critical awareness of environmental sustainability, and critical thinking. And for the second conclusion is the results show that STEAM and empathy can empower students' knowledge and multidisciplinary capabilities of engaging them as social responsible to take a part by making decision making and small solutions about natural and social issues. And for the last conclusion is the visible thinking routines also can help teachers to see what people do and support collaborative methods. This research support with Indonesia's national curriculum that young generations should aware about critical issues in environmental and social contexts. So I think enough of my presentation. I hope all of you can understand about what I mean, and thank you very much for your attention, for your time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Miss Elsa, for your presentation. So we are entering the Q&A session for Miss Elsa paper, yeah, ABS 95 about the STEAM integrated visible thinking routine through STEAM and empathy projects. So if there is question from the participant, any question? Oh, okay. Maybe we will take a break to wait for the azan. Is that okay for Miss Elsa? Okay, so maybe if the azan in your place is already finished, please let us know.
Okay, already azan already, Miss.
Okay, thank you, Miss Elsa, for your confirmation. So, any question maybe from the participants? Okay, so I will give my comments first for Miss Elsa research. Thank you for your presentation. Very good explanation. So the first question is about the project. Your project is you use STEAM, yeah, STEAM, STEM projects in here. So I'm not very familiar with educational related things. So could you explain what is the difference between STEM and STEM?
Okay, Miss, can I answer your question?
Yes, please.
Okay, the difference between STEAM and STEM is in the STEAM there is the art subject. So in our school, in research with impact, STEAM and empathy, we use the STEAM. Why? Because in our subject, in our culture in our school, there are science and then STEAM technology, STEAM engineering, art, and mathematics. So many subject, the teacher, the subject teacher discuss about the project in the STEAM, and we need art to design the project. So for the example of the project, we ever kita pernah melakukan suatu project. We do the project in the 2021, I think, in the 20 and 21. So we design the model of the car, the electricity of car, and in the when we design of the car, we need art. We need art to design the car. So we think that STEAM it is the important, or maybe we choose the STEAM between STEM. So can complete STEM. So we use the STEAM. We use art to make the project interesting, the students or maybe the audience. I think enough, Miss.
Okay, so you use STEAM method because in your opinion it will design your project better than STEM.
Yeah, can make an interesting the other.
Okay, because it includes the arts aspect, is it?
Yes.
Okay. So in your research earlier, you said that you did you did your research on 300 people, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
From 7th
That's
grade, 8th grade, and 9th grade. How about the proportion between each grade? I mean, from 300 people you sample, how many percent, how many people maybe in 7th grade, how many people in 8th
Okay.
grade, and so on until the 9th grade.
Okay. For the presentation or for the proportion for the students for the sample, all the students in NFBS Bogor, because it is integrated in the learning process. Like maybe for the topic biology with physical education, it is an integrated subject. So we can apply in the class, integrated in the KBM. So all the students use the empathy project or STEM project in the 7th and the 8th and the 9th grade. So use the empathy and STEM. Empathy for 7th and 8th graders for the empathy project, and then for the STEM project in the 9th graders. So all the students in the NFBS Bogor ever use the STEM and empathy project.
Okay, last question from me. So in your research, you said that you decided 9 cases, correct? About the Rohingya and
Yes.
others cases. So why did you choose these 9 cases? Is there any special reason for that?
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Because it is all the subject in the Nurul Fikri Boarding School Bogor. Like in the first year academic year, all the teachers discuss about the ada berapa irisan mata pelajaran subjek, maybe topik di mata pelajaran tersebut. Kemudian we can integrate the subject, the topic, and we choose, or maybe we search about the issue, the viral issue, or maybe isu-isu yang terkini, and then we can use the issue as the value reflection for the students. Yeah, so like the Rohingya, and then online learning online learning can give the effect for the students, and then it is the example of the issue, the viral issue, to use the empathy and STEAM project. So I think it can be make the students critical thinking, collaborative learning, and then can the students make the empathic communication. Yeah. Enough.
Okay, so you choose the 9 cases because you hope that the students can learn from that issue.
Yes.
And it will help them to think critically.
Yes. In the 6th dimension.
Okay. Okay, I understand about that. Thank you for Ms. Elsa for your answer. And we have finished your session, so I will return to Ms. Elsa to close your presentation before we are moving to the last presenter.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much all the participants. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for Ms. Elsa. So we are moving to the next presenter, which is also the last one. Okay, so in here we have the last presenter, ABS 10. It was written by Miss Dania Setiorini. The title is Development and Validation of TPEC-based Micro-Teaching Assessment Instruments. So unfortunately, she cannot join this meeting, but she already sent us the video. So we have received her video, and we will play her video instead of her presence. Okay, please.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. First of all, let me thank you all for coming here today and to the conference committee for arrange this conference event. It is a honor to have the opportunity to present our research result in here. And first of all, let me start by saying a few words about my own background. I'm a lecturer from Biology Education Study Program, Universitas Negeri Jakarta, and my name is Dania. First, let me start our research introduction. As we know, microteaching is a teaching method which still used by many universities in Indonesia for training teachers' teaching competencies, especially for pedagogy area. We already know that this method has been implemented since 1963, but this method is still considered very relevant for training teaching skills. And according to our previous research, pre-service teachers and student teachers state that microteaching helped them implement the theory of teaching skills in the actual learning activities. So they say that teachers still need microteaching to get observation, assessment, and feedback about their teaching skills. Besides of that, rapid technology development has brought many changes to learning activities too. So teachers need to upgrade their teaching competencies for using technology in their lesson class. And observation, assessment, feedback activities will run well if adequate assessment instruments support them with the needs of the times and are valid. So this study aims to develop and validate an instrument for assessing basic teaching skills in implementing microteaching. Okay, for next, our research use research and development method by Berg and Gar Research Designs with 10 steps, starting with need assessment and then planning a product design, continue with developing the product, and after that, the instrument was validated by expert validators. And then the expert validators gave a suggestion to revise the early product or the early instrument we have made. And after that, we take a field test to evaluate, to first evaluate the instrument or the product. But the design of this study was limited to the trial phase and small-scale field validation at the Biology Education Study Program, Universitas Negeri Jakarta. For the dissemination phase, step 7 until step 10, and the effectiveness test on a large scale will be carried out in a separated study. Okay, there are 3 expert validators for our research, and we use 53 students to evaluate for a small-scale field test. And for data collection, we use expert validation rubric consists of 21 questions with 1 until 4 rating scale. And for evaluation, the instrument from student, we use evaluation survey about satisfaction for using the instruments. And this research used descriptive analysis for expert validators result, and we use validity and reliability with person product moment and alpha Chromebook to test items validity and instrument reliability in a whole. Okay, for the next is about our result and discussion. Our research have two main results. The first one is about development the instrument, and the second one is about the evaluation and validation from expert validators and from students. For the first one, our research was development micro teaching assessment instrument based on the theory from Elaine and from the teacher education in Indonesia system. Based on the theory and based on the education system in Indonesia, we have developed this instrument with 8 teaching skill. So we name the instrument with 8 teaching skill assessment instrument based on TPACK micro teaching, like that. This instrument consists of 78 items of assessment statements, and it's rate on a scale from 1 to 3. When we observe the preserved teacher or the student in a micro teaching, and we do not see these skill domain indicators done with the students, we can give them the score 1 for not observed. And if we can see or observe the skill from the indicators while students do the micro teaching, but the skill still not good or need more emphasis for better, we can give the student 2 point of score for more emphasis recommended, and the 3 scores is for accomplished it very well. So this is the rate of scale we use for this instrument. And for the 8 teaching skills we use, you can see in the screen. The first skill domain is about opening and closing learning process. Skill for opening and closing the learning. In these skill domains include the indicators is about apperception, motivation, cognitive link, understanding, memory, etc. And after that, explaining skills. The second skills. Okay. The third skills you can see in the screen is about skill to provide variety in the learning. This is the indicators we have used. For the next skill domain is about small group discussion leadership skills. For the fifth skill, we have reinforcement skills. And for all and this instrument from expert validator, we get the result that 92% of validators assess that this instrument is feasible and very good for each indicators. And for the details, you can see in the graphic that from the validators about this instrument. And for the next skill domain, we have basic questioning skill, advanced questioning skill, and class management skill and discipline. And for the item validation task, from 78 items in total, we have 56 items valid and 22 items invalid. For reliability values, we have 0.9. So this instrument we can say that this instrument is really strong, reliable. This is the detail of the number of the item valid from each skill domain. And from the student, we get 98.1% of students gave high score for evaluating the use of instrument in the micro teaching assessment. For discussion, the item of the skill indicator provide variety, and the skill to manage classes and disciplines are declared invalid as a whole. This can happen because implementing online micro-teaching limits the movement and body language of the practitioner when teaching. The variation given a limited to verbal rewards and punishment, or using the available emoticons on the video conference, because we do the micro teaching via online, via Zoom learning. So that's the limited of this research. Because the micro teaching class is conditioned online, it is difficult for students to see the activities of the participant students. So therefore, this assessment item tends to be unobservable. And finally, the last, for the conclusion, there were 64 items of assessment statement on the previous instrument, and later we developed again through this research with adding the TPACK based micro teaching into 78 items. The result of expert validation by 3 lecturers gave an excellent assessment. From the expert is 92%. The instrument is feasible to use, and we have a good evaluation too from the student. Okay, that's all about my presentation. Thank you for your time. Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you for Ms. Daniar Setiorini for the presentation. So we are moving to the Q&A session. Any question maybe from participant? Denada, who is still here? Okay, so I would like to give comments about Ms. Daniar research. So my question is about your validator. So you say in your research that you have 3 people for validating the instrument that you have made. So who is the expert in this case?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Vina. Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes, we can hear your voice.
Yeah. So for the expert validator, we use 3 lecturers who have a background in evaluation, especially in a micro teaching assessment in a pre-service teacher or in a educational institute in a biology department. We use 3 validators from university in the internal Universitas Negeri Jakarta and in others university. Maybe that's my answer, Miss.
Okay, so the validator is specifically commenting on your assessment or also your material?
Only for the instrument that we have made.
Okay.
They gave a commenter a comment and revision, right, like that, validating our instrument, and after that we doing evaluation. We trial our instrument to our student in Department of in a Biology Education study program University of Jakarta to get the evaluation about their satisfaction while using our instrument. Yeah, while they are doing their micro teaching lesson and our training, training in micro teaching.
Okay. Thank you for your answer, Ms. Daniar.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Tina.
Okay, so we have finished your session. So I will return to Ms. Daniar first to close your presentation.
Okay, thank you for all the participants and for the moderators who allow me to do the presentation today. I hope my research can give you just a small new update about the micro teaching in a high institution of education. Yeah, that's from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ms. Daniar. So we have finally come to the end of this parallel session. So thank you for all the presenters that have been here today. Thank you for attending this session. If you have additional questions for presenters, you can contact them in email listed in the abstract book. And as additional information, your certificate will be able to be generated through conference system by September 9 in 2022. And once author has presented their paper and make appropriate payment, so you only can generate your certificate if you have presented your paper and make appropriate payment. So before I close this session, allow me to take a photo of the entire participant in this room. Okay, once again, thank you for the presentation in SMIC 2022. See you on SMIC 2024. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Ms.
For
Tina.
participants, please move to the main room. You can leave the room, but please move to the main room.
Thank you, Ms. Tina.